Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this another edition of the Cortland Warner Show. Today we have with us a gentleman that travels all the way from Virginia. But I must tell you, folks, this is a cousin of mine, and he traveled all the way from Virginia to be with his family here for a brief moment. So we took the time out to have a small interview and asked Mr. Glenroy Green some questions pertaining to him traveling to St. Martin. Mr. Green, good morning and welcome to the program.
Morning.
How was it traveling to St. Martin from Virginia? What was it like? What are the requirements for you to travel to St. Martin?
Requirements is based off St. Martin entry department. You have to do a COVID test 5 days, which is 120 hours prior to our arrival. So that would be a negative test prior to arrival. So I did a test, got my results, and also you have to come to St. Martin. You do have to go on the website and register a form that you're coming, and they do ask for your test results there. So you upload it to the website, and they give you what you call a pre-authorization to come in to the island. And also, one thing is St. Martin is requiring you to do a self-check while you're on the island. So every day you would have to submit it on the website, on the email, your temperature, and also if you're feeling any flu-like symptoms. So you said, no, I don't have any flu-like symptoms, and you supply your temperature for that day, for the morning. So it's before breakfast or anything. You submit your temperature and how you're feeling.
Wow, but this seems rather strange. What if you don't have a temperature gauge? How do you go about that?
I don't know.
Did you ask that question?
Nah, I didn't. I did not know until I got the email that you was gonna do it.
Okay, so, but do you have a temperature gauge?
Yeah, I do have one. Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So again, you heard one of the requirements is for you to have a temperature check before breakfast every morning. You said,
Yeah, and you have to submit it.
and you have to submit it to the public health
Yeah.
of St. Martin.
Yeah.
The same persons that you submit the COVID test before you came
Correct.
to.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, that's great news for us. So at least we know when you're coming to St. Martin, these are some of the protocols that you have to follow.
And then once I got to the airport in Richmond, it was once they saw that we were traveling international, they would ask for your COVID test to provide that, to show proof that you have a test, a negative test. You show it there, then they let you check in. Then once you check in, you've been on the airport. It's masked all the time. So once you get to, then it was a connected flight to Miami. Once I get to Miami, before I got on the flight, they do ask again for that COVID test result.
All right, so on your way, and tell us what it's like to be on a flight in this time, because most of the time, most people around the world are very scared of traveling, and getting on a plane. We know that there are rules that you have to wear a mask. Could you express to us the flight itself? How was it like sitting on that flight with, and tell us about how many people was on that flight with you?
The flight was pretty. I was surprised, pretty almost full. It was a pretty almost full flight to me. I mean, it was a lot of passengers, so it seems like people are starting to travel to me, because traveling, it's not a big thing to me. It's you wear your mask, and you do have to wear your mask. What's a big thing. You have to wear the mask.
Are there any point on your journey towards Saint Martin that they would give you a chance to take your mask off or to change your mask? What could you tell us a little bit about that?
I mean, if you're eating or drinking, then yeah, you could take the mask off. So during that time, yeah. Otherwise, that they require you to have it on if you're not eating or drinking anything.
Okay. When you landed in St. Martin and coming off of the plane, you go through, give us a brief statement of how did you go through our immigration and our CPS screening before you could come out to meet your family?
What they did was, once you get off the plane, you go on a line and they make you sanitize your hands first before you go to the agent. and the agent take your COVID test, look at it to verify it's like the correct test, then they stamp it. And once they stamp it, then they allow you to go to immigration. So, and that was it.
So you're saying it's pretty smooth sailing as long as you take that COVID test in your home state where you're coming from and it is certified. It's pretty smooth sailing as long as you also send your requirements to the website. Is the government of St. Martin website, or it's an immigrant? What is the website?
Ministry of Public Health. So the Ministry of Public Health.
So the website is the Ministry of Public Health St. Martin. You go to that website and you request. Is it a request that you made that you want to come to St. Martin?
They recommend that you do it. They recommend that you do that prior to coming to St. Martin, so they know who's coming in to the island. So they have an idea of who's coming in, and then they ask you to. You cannot fill a form out until you have your COVID test results. So if you try to do the test, the form without the test, you will not be able to finish it until you have that COVID test result, because that's something that they're requiring for you to upload for them to see.
So that's in a more safer zone that everybody that coming to St. Martin should be tested and must be tested, so they will know that for sure that these persons are COVID free while traveling. And were there any scare for you that someone on the plane would have COVID, or someone will pick up a sickness after that 5 days of testing?
There's a possibility, but as long as if you understand how COVID is contracted, then you will be okay. You gotta keep your hand. I keep hand sanitizer. It's the way you get it is by putting your hand in your face or something. And that's something people can easily forget about by touching something, and then so. If you touch a foreign object that hey, that's not, you just sanitize your hand and keep it moving, So then that way, like if I know I'm gonna put my hand in my face, I always spray with some sanitizer, because then I know then it's safe. So that's what I would say. But otherwise, being scared, no, I'm not.
All right, let's take you on St. Martin. You've been here for the past 2.5 days. What are some of your thoughts when you get to St. Martin? What are some of your thoughts that you see? What do you see different in St. Martin than in Virginia with the protocols that we have here?
To me, it's about the same. In businesses, you're required to wear a mask. In St. Martin, I could see a lot of people wear masks. I've noticed that people are wearing the mask going into buildings and stuff, stores. Same thing in the States. It's mandatory. So, but otherwise, outside walking the outside, people don't really wear it outside. Only when they're going into the buildings, that's when they wear it. So,
being a St. Martin now, how do you see St. Martin in a whole? It's not a long time you've been here, but I know you've been in the streets, and I know you went and get some stuff that you really came to get. How do you see St. Martin presently?
Dead. A lot of businesses closed. People are desperate. So it's like on Front Street, they're hungry for your money, like for sale. Everybody's hungry for sale. So that's the one thing I noticed. People are more aggressive to get a sale. Very aggressive.
All right, Mr. Green, could you tell us what this pandemic has taught you?
I guess it was just a reset for everybody for the world to clean up. I think that's what it was. I guess people just used to do too much unsanitary stuff, and to the point now that it make people realize they gotta be a little bit more cleaner.
So it leaves me to ask you this. How did you pass your time during the lockdown, if there was a lockdown in Virginia where you're at?
It was a lockdown, but my job, I worked. I had to work because I'm an essential worker, so I worked every day. So it's just that my company provided a lot of resources for us during that time. So a lot of hand sanitizers. Everyone usually would ride together sometimes on the job. Everyone drive separately. and we got our self-monitoring checks that we do every day, and we have to report to the. So that's one thing. But it was pretty much shut down. But for me, it wasn't really. I couldn't see it as a shutdown because I was working. So I, I was working.
Okay, Mr. Green, what would you like to see happen for the last 2 months of this year?
As long as people follow the procedures, I think everything will be all right. With your mask, and to me, it's just wearing the mask when you need to, and sanitizing. I mean, to me, I've been out working and I haven't contracted it as yet. So, I'm very precautious what I do. So, as long as you're precautious what you're doing, you should be okay.
All right, Mr. Green, just before we wrap up, there is currently the ongoing election fever in America. We're not gonna touch on the president and the former vice president. What is it like in your state within this election fever? We can see on one side we have big gatherings, and on the other side we have a social distancing. Tell us a little bit about in Virginia what it's like in your state.
Virginia, it's a big toss-up. It's could go any way. All everyone is saying is vote. You got to vote because that's all. That's the big thing. Everyone, that's the big thing right now. That's a big campaign they're requiring. They're asking everybody to vote, 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 vote. That's all they're asking you. Vote. They want everyone to vote. So, and it is a big number of people. People are voting early. That's one thing I've noticed. People are starting to vote early. So there's a lot of people voting already because they want to have their say in this election.
Mr. Green, the final question will be, as a big basketball player, as you are, you follow basketball for many years, you've been in the sport for many years, you was one of St. Maarten, player that made it to a different level. What do you think about the few months or a couple of weeks back when the NBA had just stopped abruptly because of Black Lives Matter movement and the killing of blacks in America? What message that sent to you as a black person in America?
Um, I mean, yeah, there need to be a change. I mean, the system needs to change. I mean, because of it's not really equal. When it comes to race, you can tell there's a difference when. So I mean, something needs to change. I mean, and I respect those players for standing up for that because people look up to them. So they have a powerful. So they're using their platform in a good way, which is something that should have been done years ago. Because you can see there's some type of change. Certain changes are being made, not much, but still, I guess people are starting to see, the magnitude of what these athletes can do.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Green, you will be leaving back to Virginia today. How is your feeling going to leave again? Now, I must say this. You had to take a test before you come to St. Maarten. No, on the reverse side of it, you only had like 2.5 days in St. Maarten. Now you're going back to Virginia. Do you need to take a test again? What do you do now going back home? How does that work?
To be on the safe side, I would take another test just to be on the safe side, just to make sure.
But is it a requirement for you to get back into Virginia or to get back into the American system that you have to take a test, being as you've been out for 2.5 days?
No, there wasn't requirements to come back in to the United States.
If I'm a person that want to visit you as a family member, do I require to take a test before I get to Virginia as a visitor?
To my knowledge, no, I haven't heard that because I would have to check, the State Department to see if there's any requirement for certain countries coming into the United States. But as to my knowledge, none of that I know of.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there we have it. Cousin of mine, Mr. Glenroy Green, thank you for being on the program. It's been a pleasure having you, and you have a safe journey back home to your family, and we look forward to see you again in Sunshine City, St. Maarten, when we can do another interview and we do this thing all over again. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. This is the Cortland Warner Show with your host, Mr. Cortland Cutty Warner, bidding you a good day.